Did you know that here on Oahu is the only place in the United States where you can letter in kayaking? You heard that right. Right here on the Ala Wai Canal. I'm going to give you a tour today about ILH Kayaking here on the Ala Wai. Even though this is a real estate YouTube channel, what I like to do is talk about the lifestyle here in Hawaii. We're going to get into some real estate towards the end. There's two main segments here on the canal. You've got Waikiki on the Makai or ocean side over here, and then you've got Kapiolani over on the Mauka side here. I've done videos about both. I'll put links in here. However, what we're going to talk about today is ILH Kayaking. There's a big race today on the canal. I haven't been down here to witness a race in literally decades. I was just blessed that when this sport first started here, it was in the fall of 1988. It was a program put together by Billy Whitford, who also started the Hawaii Canoe and Kayak team. And during that year, he took the first team to nationals in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so it's been a decade or two, like I said, since I've been down here. But my college roommate, who is a second ever ILH champion in kayaking here, Chris Ball, he's now coaching my alma mater, Punahou. So he invited me down to take a look today. And that first year was won by Nalu Kukea. The second year was Chris Ball, and I was just fortunate enough in my junior year in high school to win the ILH championship. What's different about now versus back then, I'm going to flip the camera around because the beauty here is a little bit better than looking at me and my beard for Halloween. One sec. Okay, there used to be a halau over here, but it's since taken down. But we used to keep all the kayaks here, and this is where the ILH kayaking races used to take place in the late 80s, 90s, etc. But now it's going to be based out of the Waikiki Surf Club canal, halau, which is further up the canal near the 500-meter mark. So I'm going to start walking up there and talking a little bit. But yeah, when this sport was first introduced to ILH, it was a feeder program for the United States Canoe and Kayak team, and I was just blessed to be a part of that. And what happened back then, because flatwater kayaking in the Olympics is a sprint event, there are 250-meter races that were held here for the kayak races, and they're done in surf skis, which are a little more stable to balance compared to flatwater kayaks, which are used in the Olympics. So the format back then was 250 meters, and there were only 10 people per varsity team. There is no JV, and that's one of the things that has evolved here over the years. Is there's a junior varsity and a varsity division for ILH kayaking, and in addition to that, they've added a distance race. So back when we were doing it, like I said, it was only 250 meters, and now they have like a 2,000-meter event. We had that as an exhibition when I was in high school. But now they split it basically 4 different divisions. So you've got a sprint division, a sprint division, a distance division, and a junior varsity and a varsity division. So there's 4 main divisions for ILH kayaking here on the canal. ILH kayaking is limited to just the ILH schools, which are private schools. So unfortunately, there is no OIA for kayaking. There are some really good kayakers that came out of Hawaii that did go to public schools. In my era, some of my teammates went to Kaiser and Roosevelt. So unfortunately, they didn't have the opportunity to race in these races. But in any event, it is still a great opportunity for those that are in the ILH schools. It's a great view of the Waikiki landmark there. And if you want to learn more about these condos along the Ala Wai, I did a complete walking tour of those. If you want to take a look, I'll post a link here. And now we'll come up to where the event is kind of hosted across the bridge here. Oh, before I get there, there's the Marco Polo, which is seen a lot over the years. That we had a fire there. I did a video about that. It's changed some legislation here on the island for older condo buildings and sprinklers. There's a big hot topic there, and if you want to learn more about that, I did a video about sprinkler law and ordinance 19-4 here on Oahu. Okay, let's continue on. I hear some clapping going, so I may have gotten here too late and missed some of the races. I heard it was going to run through 11. So here we are. It kind of gives you a perspective of some of the boats they race here. These are surf skis, which you sit on top. A big brand is Epic, which is originally based out of South Africa. And you can see a lot of the Epic boats are pretty common what they're using here. but there's specs as far as weight and length, etc. So you can't just use anything here. You can't use a flat water kayak. But it looks like they're awarding some of the medalists here to celebrate a great season. In addition to the epic surf skis I'd mentioned earlier, Vega has become a new popular brand. It's done by Kai Bartlett. Pat Dolan won the Molokai to Oahu surf ski race this year on this Vega surf ski style. And I've got a funny story about Kai. He and I went to elementary school together on Maui, and the only time I ever got into trouble on detention was with Kai. I'll save that for later. Here's the Iolani tent. I actually coached Iolani kayaking after college. They've always had a good team. I'm sorry to say that I missed all the races because the races went by so fast, well before 11 a.m. of what was predicted. So here's the Punahou group. There were 16 seniors that they honored who went through, freshmen through their senior year, and the coaches are giving them a speech here. Their coaches, Jim and Sarah, also went through the ILH Kayaking program. And here I am with my college roommate, Chris Ball. It's great that we got to catch up. And this is pretty classic here. Some of the kids actually jumped in the Ala Wai, which I would not recommend. Forgive me because all I talked about earlier in this segment was all the guys that were kayaking that I grew up with. But Malia Kamasugi was at the forefront of the original ILH racing, and she won the ILH championship. Meanwhile, she played on the varsity volleyball team at Punahou. She was a great water woman, and just wanted to mention her as well. And there are a few other legends that came out of the ILH women's program. Kathy Collin was my high school classmate, and she went on to be in the 2004 Olympics in Athens. As a recap, the ILH Kayaking started in 1988 with Billy Whitford organizing everything, and there's a lot of legendary coaches back then. We had Marshall Rosa, who's one of the legendary surf ski paddlers in Hawaii. He coached Punahou girls. I was fortunate to have John Puakea, who's still a legend today, making all kinds of one-man canoes and boats. He was my boys coach at Punahou, and then George Kistner, who's a legendary paddler. He coached the mid-pack paddling program. And Kala Kukea, who was also a good mentor to me, is my friend Nalu Kukea's father. He was the coach of the Kamehameha boys, and Rosie Lum coached the Kamehameha women. They had a great program at the time. But yeah, once again, ILH is for all the private schools here in Honolulu. Les Jardins, I should say, is in Kailua now. Les Jardins wasn't around back then, but they're a good program as well. So that's a wrap on ILH Kayaking. Back to the real estate. There we have the convention center out the back. And then we've got, iconic building there at the Waikiki Landmark that I mentioned at the very end of the canal and the straightaway here near the McCully Bridge, and give you another perspective here of the canal. Well, I hope you enjoyed my recap of ILH Kayaking here on the Ala Wai Canal. Once again, it's the only place in the United States where you can letter in kayaking for a varsity sport and a JV sport now, as I mentioned. So to learn more about kayaking, feel free to reach out to me. But what I do for a living is I do sell real estate here in Hawaii. And we talked about places on the Mauka side with Kapiolani and on this side of the canal. And then we've got Waikiki on the Makai side. So whether it be either side of here or anywhere on Oahu for that matter, feel free to reach out and give me a shout at 808-371-3509. Mahalo.